It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. We are live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State. Also live on Facebook and on YouTube. And we are excited to have with us here Matt Bresee. We have known you for years and years and years. And now you are doing business coaching with Action Coach. Welcome, Matt. Good to see you.
Thanks, Joel. Appreciate you guys having me.
You got it here. Let's start with your origin story, how you came up, because, again, you're from the area here and an Erie kid, aren't you?
I am proud to say, born and raised, grew up in Lawrence Park. I've now lived in Harbor Creek for close to 30 years. So East Sider.
Your folks, did they do the GE thing? Or?
So it's funny. I lived in Lawrence Park, grew up in Lawrence Park. Neither of my parents ever worked for GE.
Okay.
So, but I remember well the day, obviously not the heyday, but even in the, mid 80s to late 80s, when GE was still employing several thousand people. The 3 o'clock whistle would go off. You didn't dare go down Main Street or Water Street or anywhere near the place.
Right.
Remember those days fondly. Obviously, a lot of friends I went to school with, parents lived there, and remember those days of GE.
Fantastic. The again, talk about your journey. Where did you go to college, and what was when you set off? 'Cause I don't think anybody sets off to be a business coach. Maybe they set off to be a consultant at some point, but talk about your journey,
Sure, I appreciate that. Went to Penn State Barron. Was fortunate that Penn State was a great fit for me. And at the same time, started working for the Erie Seawolves. So actually right out of high school, literally the week I graduated, I became the clubhouse manager for the Erie Seawolves at age 17, which, by the way, that's a glorified name for the guy that does the laundry and sweeps the floors of the locker room. So again, at 17, that title sounded pretty good. When they said, "Hey, do you want to do this?" I said, "Sure, what the heck?" So the irony was at 17, back in 1996, they were a short season single A team. Right. So there were guys on the team that I was the same age as. In short season, you got 18-year-old kids, 19-year-old kids. That first summer, Aramis Ramirez was probably the most notable player that was in the clubhouse that year.
Pirates
that's right.
Organization?
Exactly, yeah. Pirates affiliate at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, that's where I started, and I was fortunate that kind of with the desire, having played sports growing up, loving the games, baseball, basketball, football, fortunate to be able to work. And at first I thought it was a good summer gig. Yeah. Parlayed that into, within 2 years, they hired me full time, ran stadium operations, concessions, all of that. Again, I like to say I got promoted from doing laundry to, cleaning out the fryers, pressure washing the concourse, and unloading beer trucks, and survived the first ever series of Buck Nights back in those days. Now that was about 1999 or so when we started with the Buck Night concept.
I used to bring my kids, sitting in the bleachers.
Yeah,
for $1,
Sure, and the night that credit John Fry, who was our general manager at the time. Yeah. John came up with this concept to try to put some butts in seats on a Monday night, and the first couple went okay. We partnered with the newspaper on doing some promotion around it, and said, well, let's get the word out, and maybe we'll gradually grow some attendance. As luck would have it, there was a Monday night in July when it was about 80 degrees, and oh boy. We learned the hard way. It may have been the hardest 24 hours I ever worked in my life when we realized the line was around the block, and we put about a little over 6,000 people in the ballpark that night. When Buck Night turned the corner, we like to say. But anyways, fast forward 9 years with the Erie Seawolves, working in the front office there. Just really enjoyed. Got to be there for the transition then from short season A to Double A. Mm-hmm. Had great experiences there. From there, landed at Erie Insurance, worked in corporate communications. So just a little bit down French Street. Right. I moved. And as luck would have it, a few years after that, heard about a professional basketball team coming to town. So I was about the third employee with that staff. And we were fortunate we got to launch the team that year. That was now 2008. got to name the team, brand identity, hire our first head coach, which of course was the Erie Bayhawks, and 13 years there, 12 as the team president.
I was going to say, what did you start out as? Because I've only known you as the president.
Sure, the very first year I was the vice president, business development.
Okay.
So really being able to take a lot of what I learned, working with the Seawolves. Of course, Erie was is such a great minor league town. You've got companies and corporations that really believe in the quality of life that sports can bring. In addition to the arts and all of that. So fortunate that as we built the business, a lot of companies that partnered with us, and then what followed, of course, was the ticket sales and the little different product, with the courtside seats and the suites and all that sort of thing. Really had some great years, and
we were talking about that yesterday with Gus Pine.
Yeah,
that we missed the Bayhawks because it was a really quality product. That was put out at the arena every night.
Really fortunate that we had it, and now that we don't have it anymore, really nobody's fault.
Right.
The landscape of the NBA just really changed. We were very fortunate to be in at the time that we were, because the growth and the trajectory of what was the NBA Development League to becoming the NBA G League to where it is today, the growth was just tremendous. So we were fortunate to be in at a really cool time of growth. But ultimately what's happened is a lot of the NBA teams started buying the teams, so the business model has changed. And as a result, they're moving these teams closer to home.
Makes sense.
And even Cleveland's now plays a few blocks away from the Cleveland Cavaliers. So they see it now more in terms of the basketball operations, being able to share resources, being able to move players very quickly within literally minutes or hours, being able to share facilities, coaching staff, being able to be more integrated to the NBA club. So therefore, nobody's fault that it's not there anymore. But yeah, certainly we're fortunate to be a part of it as long as we were.
One question, we were the last affiliation was with the New Orleans Pelicans, right?
That's correct.
Do they still have a team in Baton Rouge, or do they move that even closer?
Birmingham.
It's in Birmingham.
They are in Birmingham, so it's about 5 hours, so it's not exactly super close. But
didn't it go to Baton Rouge at one point?
There was talk about it when they first kind of put out the RFPs in their region, sort of in the south. They actually were almost all the way to Baton Rouge, and it kind of got down to a county council vote that they decided not to fund the renovation of an arena, whereas Birmingham was all in. So there's a beautiful arena, Legacy Arena in Birmingham, that was newly renovated. So actually coming out of COVID, they were able to move quicker because construction sped up when live events were halted in 2020. So ultimately, spring of 2021, we got the word that unfortunately we had to close up shop and just ran out of options for NBA partners at that point.
I mean, that's very instructive, though, when you think about, again, as a coach, even with municipalities or with governments having to be agile if they want a preferred future, if they want something like, hey, we want a minor league or we want a G League team, we've got to bust a move. I think the Seawolves were able to convince Erie Events to, hey, we've got to upgrade the field, right? In the state, did that big investment, or else maybe we would have lost the Wolves. I mean, the MLB, the Major League Baseball, was challenging us at the Erie level,
That's right, and those economics have changed. The Seawolves, AA baseball, all of minor league baseball, a little more challenged now, just in terms of the economics, because what's happened too is the requirements that you're referring to, right? The requirements that they have for the players, whether it be the clubhouse, whether it be the facilities, things that they offer them, their housing, all of that, their travel, and they've changed the schedule in as a result. All that impacts the bottom line. So I give both organizations a lot of credit, the Otters and the Seawolves, for both. You said it, being agile, adapting, adjusting. I think the ballpark improvements, obviously the arena has been just absolutely tremendous in the improvements they've made, but the ballpark improvements have been really nice. And I think because that's kind of where I cut my teeth, I'll always have a special spot in my heart. So it's great to see them still doing so well.
All right, so stay with us, Matt, on your journey here. So basketball is going away what do I do next?
Yeah, that's right. So I was fortunate that while we were at the Bayhawks, major marketing partner was with Lecom.
Gotcha.
And with Lecom's growth, had an opportunity to go there and work within that organization for would have been coming up on about 4 years now. So oversaw marketing communications there. So again, got a little bit exposure to a very different organization, in healthcare and higher education. So yeah, it was definitely a change. But again, fortunate that my family and I we've been able to find opportunity here. I'm a huge fan of Erie, Pennsylvania. I'm a big cheerleader for it. Not only been born and raised, but having raised a family here and have deep roots here. And now I've got even a granddaughter myself who's growing up here. So yeah, I love it.
So the idea of coaching, has that always been part of your psyche? Because that's a big jump to kind of go into like a entrepreneurial role at that point.
Sure. Always no. I think that it took some time to kind of do a lot of due diligence, first of all, a lot of soul searching in terms of really kind of driving my passion for helping people. Okay. And as I looked at the different roles I've had, again, fortunate that for now going on close to 30 years, different roles, different leadership types of roles and responsibilities, made a lot of mistakes in those days. But also had the fortune of learning from a lot of great leaders, going all the way back and pulling different things from. Some of it was just as simple as learning the right way to treat people. Others was learning more a little bit about the business, allowing me to learn as I go, whether it was learning to read financial statements or structure a benefit plan or what have you. So now as I kind of fast forward in the last couple of years, as I've looked at kind of, what is it that really kind of drives my passion and what I'd like to do for the kind of rest of my career, if you will, I was really drawn to coaching. Coaching is all about mentoring, being a guide. We like to say that, coaching in business or executives, for-profits, nonprofits, it's very similar to the analogy of sports too, in that while a coach can watch the film, be a different set of eyes, the Olympic swimmer that's going up and down the pool, the coach can walk alongside them, tell them what they're seeing, instruct them, but they can't get in the pool and do the work for them. Same with the basketball team, right? You can put in an offense, put in a defense, but you're not the one out there, making the assist or making the turnover or what might happen. So for those reasons too, I think there was a lot of alignment both in my passion for sports and that kind of background, but also just the business background itself. Really just genuinely enjoying kind of that servant leadership mentality too. And that's kind of what coaching comes down to, is the belief that there is abundance in the world for everyone to succeed, and being able to see others succeed, follow their goals, their dreams, accomplish their goals and dreams, and being able to help those business owners, those executives, whoever we're working with, a nonprofit, have greater impact. That gives me a lot of joy. So that's really kind of the mission and the goal and what ultimately led me down the coaching path.
We got more with Matt Bresee here in just a little bit. It is 20 after 4 o'clock. Talk Erie. Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. Matt Bresee is with us here. He's a business coach with Action Coaching. We're kind of hearing his story. We're going to get some pro tips here in a bit. And I am going to turn the phone lines on if you're okay with that, in case somebody wants some ideas here. But so obviously with your background in sports, there is that synergy there. And I love how you said that there you have an abundance mindset. Can you drill down a little bit on this, because especially coming up in Erie, there's sometimes a predominant narrative that if somebody else is winning, we're losing.
That's right.
And that's not really the case, is it?
It shouldn't be, right? It shouldn't be. So Action Coach is a global franchise, which I've invested in. So I'm the local Action Coach here. And the Action Coach global mission is world abundance through business re-education. So we really live that. And world abundance means just that there's an adequate amount of success to go around for anyone in any field, in any industry, you name it. So that's kind of that mindset as coaches that we take on and encourage others to do the same. So actually, when we start working with anybody, we start with mindset, because oftentimes anyone we work with, anyone listening, we are all capable usually of more than what we think we're capable of. And as a coach, you really want to try to bring out the very best in people. And by doing that, you have to start with their own mindset to believe that they can achieve things greater. They can set lofty goals, and then make the plans on how we take action to accomplish those. But it has to start with that belief that there can be growth. So obviously a growth mindset. But in terms of, back to the sort of abundance piece, is that really just that thought that I want to see, someone like you succeed just as much as I personally want to succeed. Mm-hmm. And just because you have success doesn't mean that I can't.
Right.
So that's kind of that. It is sometimes, I don't know if it's, you mentioned Erie. I don't know. I don't like to not think it's regional, but it is maybe by human nature sometimes. Mm-hmm. Depending on how you were taught or your upbringing, that can be something. So typically, whenever we start or even begin to have conversations about potential coaching relationship, we definitely spend some time getting a sense of where the person is, where the organization is, how they really believe they can grow. And it's really fun when somebody really embraces that, to say, yes, I want to grow, and I want to grow. I want my people to grow. I want my team to grow. We want to just, achieve it, whatever level of success is out there. And what's fun is, I think that as a coach, we can sometimes help them see maybe even a greater level of success that they may even thought was possible.
Have you ever had to kind of encourage that desire? And again, please, with all due respect, but sometimes I encounter situations in our community where they feel like have enough. Okay, let's say they inherited a family business, and it's bringing in enough bucks so that I can take a couple of vacations and go fishing on my bass boat, and I'm set. My inventory's set. I like my customers, and I'm good. And there's really no desire to grow.
Sure.
I guess that may not be a good possibility for a client for you, maybe.
That's right, and exactly that. It's business coaching may not be for everybody. I've had those exact conversations. Say like, I'm good, we're content, and more power to you. Right? It's all in what they make, and I think that's also with coaching is, we want to learn and understand what their dreams and goals are, and then we can help them on that path. And it's
I would say, though, Matt, that, and I'm sorry to interrupt, I would say, though, that our community kind of depends on a little more desire and drive, because we've been kind of just kind of staying the course, maybe having little green shoots here and there, but we've got to grow, right?
Well, I'll say this, Joel. In my last several months, particularly in this space, really talking to a lot of people, different industries, again, for-profit, nonprofit, large business, startups, the Beehive, the Family First Center business at Barron, having heard a great mix of that. One, I'll say that Erie has tremendous resources for startups, not only financially, but just support of helping them getting going. What Ben Franklin is doing, again, Beehive, the community down at Radius Cowork, you name it, right? There are a lot of people really getting behind those types of efforts and startups here. But what you were saying about, yes, you need some of those that really want that initiative to keep moving Erie forward, adding jobs. And what's been really refreshing is they're out there. They're really out there, which is very exciting from my perspective, because sometimes when you bring up business coaching, I've had friends and people that I've talked to that said, well, I'm not sure I need a coach. It doesn't necessarily have to be broken in order to have a coach. What's exciting is when I have the conversation about, we have some thoughts or some plans or some ideas for how we can really scale this thing and get bigger, add some locations or grow in some ways. We're just not maybe sure how to get there, or the steps we need to take in order to put the right personnel or train them or create the right systems. Like that's exciting, right? Like, let's go, let's dive in, let's figure out, let's walk that path with them, and figure out how we do that. So I like to think, Joel, that there's more of those than the others, but again, to each their own. The ones that are content where they are and status quo is okay. I like to say that the world maybe needs a little bit of all that.
Yeah, I would agree. It's a lot of work to go, 1x or 2x, 3x, 5x, 10x. I mean, it's just a lot of work, and you got to put it in. Matt will be with us here after the news break. Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show, live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State, having crucial conversations that Erie needs here. Matt Bresee is with us. He is a business coach with Action Coaching, and I want to kind of get into some of the key ideas and the key ways of thought on how you approach this, because I think it would be really helpful for people to understand, hey, maybe you're reading their mail, Matt. It's like, I need this. So when you entered into this particular system, what drew you to Action Coaching?
So a lot of due diligence over the last probably 2 years or so. And what led me ultimately to Action Coach, they're a global franchisee in a little over 80 countries now. Been around for about 32 years, and there's about 1,100 licensed franchises around the world.
Wow.
So number one, the intellectual property that they bring was tremendous. So really with any franchise model, that's kind of why you invest.
So you're starting the Erie chapter.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. The only one in Northwest Pennsylvania under the Action Coach program. But really it was that the intellectual property, so it's tremendous, right? And the community then. So I have coaches myself. I have a couple of different coaches now that I'm learning from, just in terms of the coaching process. Those have been in the space and been very, very successful for a couple of years. Internationally, I have a couple of coaches that I work with internationally, because business is business, no matter where you are around the globe. But also drew me to it is the approach that Action Coach takes. And that's, as I mentioned before, like whenever we start to work with either business owner or executive, there's the mindset, but there's also that personal development piece. So that was really important, because believe it or not, there's other models out there that don't quite follow that same path. There's a lot of other very good coaches, very good consultants in the world for sure. But I just really was drawn to the Action Coach approach. And it's really meeting people, where they are. We talk about, obviously there's different size companies, different situations, different scenarios. Some that have the ability to scale and grow. Some that just need to kind of fix some challenges they have, and in some cases it's the owner is working 50, 60 hours themselves in the business, and they want to try to figure out how they can just get themselves relieved of that and not miss family events and not miss sporting events and things like that at home, and making sure that they still get the joy out of their business that they intended to get when they started it, because that's really what it comes down to. Most people that go into business for themselves are excited or want to do it for all the good reasons of business ownership, right? Ultimately having more flexibility, maybe some freedom, working for yourself, all the hours you put in coming back in direct correlation to your compensation. But the reality is that doesn't always happen. You get business owners that are just driving themselves into the ground sometimes, or have all sorts of challenges. Time, team, and money are often the ones you see most often. So we try to meet them where they are, but ultimately it's about creating a better lifestyle for them. And again, that means different things to different people, but also defining their goals. And some of that's obviously can be financial and material. But others can just be having more time, spending more time with family. I want to coach
my kids T-ball league.
Exactly. Or just having more finances to give, to donate, charitable reasons, what have you. So it's really finding out what their end goal is, what drives them, what their passions are. Then we address, in a business scenario, we address their business's challenges and opportunities. And that's the thing we like to say too. It doesn't always have to be broken.
Right.
It can be that, hey, we've got some great dreams here, and business is good. How do we get there? And how do we scale properly? And how do we do this efficiently? The time is probably the most common challenge we hear that I reference, whether they're working a lot in it, or gosh, they're doing so much in the operations, they don't have the chance to maybe focus in on marketing or sales, or hiring someone else to get more help. So we try to help them manage that. Everybody's given the same amount of time. What you find is you've got to prioritize. You do there's some tools we have in place where you can study some of that as a business owner, take a look and prioritize. And then we try to help them navigate whatever that path looks like. And that can be done in kind of a one-on-one type coaching format, or it can be done. We even have some 12-week programs that we can help guide people through if that's, again, lower investment, easier to kind of get your head around in terms of I can do something for 12 weeks and after a few months try to incorporate some of this myself. So kind of really, meeting people where they are, assessing their needs and make recommendations based on that.
Can you put some headphones on? I think we might get a caller in here. Hi, you're our live with Matt here on Talk Erie. Oh, go ahead.
Being involved in scouting for 40 years, I understand leadership and see the worth of leadership and how it can be taught. How does your program differ than the Manufacturers Association of Erie courses or what Leadership Erie is putting on? And have you ever heard of the Boy Scouts Wood Badge program?
All right,
I'll turn off.
Thank you. Appreciate it, buddy. Go ahead. Are you acquainted with any of that? Or
I'm somewhat familiar with the Manufacturers Association,
okay.
Yes. I'm not familiar with the Boy Scouts program that he referenced. What I would say this, without having, great familiarity with those two programs, I can speak to what our approach is. And when it comes to leadership, we do have, I mentioned a 12-week course. We have a 12-week leadership course, and I'm going to presume it probably is a lot of the same basics. Mm-hmm. The one difference that we also can provide too is with a little bit of the coaching aspect. There's always that. So in the 12-week program, even we spend a little time each week talking to people about their individual situation. What's your company like? Again, from a leadership perspective, are you leading a team of 1, 2, 3? Are you leading a team of 20, 50, 20, 30?
Yeah.
And then the different dynamics that come about that. I would say the other thing with coaching, that it's sometimes unique to people that if they don't, they ask us, how does this work? It's typically over a long period of time. Anytime we don't have contracts we sign, we have agreements, but we also always encourage people to say, again, depending on their scenario, 6 months, 12 months, because coming back to the mindset piece, it's you want to, as a coach, we can help coach them, but it really comes to creating new habits, and particularly in the leadership space, if someone is really wanting to grow. If you think about if a lot of us have attended a one-day workshop or
Sure.
a function.
Yeah, you get that mountain high, right?
That's right. That's right. And I've been guilty of it myself.
Yeah.
I've certainly over the years have attended various, the conference you go to for a couple of days, the seminar you attend. And yes, you come away excited. You have some tools. You've covered some stuff. What happens more often than not is weeks go by, months go by, and it's very easy to sink back to the old habits. With the coaching approach that we take most often is small chunks consistently over time, whether that's weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, so that in the course of a year, 2 years, whatever the time frame might be, there's the accountability factor from a coaching perspective. If Joel, if you and I are going through and you say, guys, I really want to improve my leadership, and we can kind of look and say, okay, what does that look like? Let's define that. What does success look like? What are the challenges you're having? What are the opportunities you have? Yeah. Now, as your coach, I'm also your accountability partner. So over the course of several months, we're going to be looking at how are you incorporating those new leadership skills? Is it the way that you're communicating with your team? Is it the way you're measuring their accountability? Is it the way that, any number of those factors, I guess, right, in terms of that leadership space in, you said you wanted to do this. Here's how we can get there. Now, what are the new habits you're going to need to do? What are the new things you're going to need to learn as a result of that? So I think where the difference is in coaching is that it's really that accountability piece of over the course of time, are you actually incorporating new habits that are going to stick so that 2, 3, 5 years down the road, you feel like you've grown and developed. Mm-hmm. And we also will have, from time to time, we also have some seminars and workshops. Sure. So there's a lot of value in those. I'm not taking anything away from that. But to answer the question a little bit, I think that I know at least what we offer is that consistent coaching for whatever aspect that it is. Sometimes it's managing team. It's, again, the accountability piece, creating some key performance indicators on how people will be measured, or just having a plan. It comes down to that. Believe it or not, that's, and again, I've been guilty of it in the past, where you don't always have a clear plan. So if you don't really know exactly where you're headed, kind of how will you ever get there? Again, the accountability piece comes in from the coaching perspective is, let's create the plan. Let's get granular with that too, whether that's daily activities, weekly activities, and then are we growing towards what the goals, dreams, hopes are, and that kind of goes across board, whether that's a leadership program, management, or otherwise.
Have you found that, and I wrote down accountable before you even started talking about that senior leaders often don't have, they're not accountable to anybody. They're the CEO. They're the leader of the nonprofit. If they can do a nice dog and pony show at the board meeting and there's still money in the fund balance, they're good. Meanwhile, they may not be following plans, or may not have the systems in place, and so then you start getting symptoms of corporate culture starts degrading and things like that. Again, I'm not trying to be negative, but those are some of the situations that you got to be careful about.
Well, I think they're real challenges, just because everybody tends to have a lot on their plate, right? If they're doing things or they feel like they're working efficiently, from the financial perspective, everyone's very lean, right? You hear that more often than not these days. Doing things very lean, and that means wearing more hats. And if you're doing that too much from the leader's perspective, it's likely trickling into your team. And then if that happens too long, too often, it tends to lead to burnout. And then that comes back to kind of the cultural challenges that you talked about. And look, it's easier said than done. But yes, we also hear that from business owners. I had a conversation not long ago with a business. They're doing fairly well. They do about $1 million in revenue each year. But he flat out said to me, I'm running crazy, and I'm used to when he played high school and college sports, he's used to having a coach, and he recognized how that helped him. So he kind of said, I know that we're capable of doing more. I know we can grow, but boy, I'm burning myself out. Yeah. So that's where the conversation might start, and then we dive in from there.
What types of organizations you think would really benefit? You mentioned small and medium-sized businesses and nonprofits and so on. I've heard of coaches that stay focused on a particular industry. Maybe they talk to all plumbers or HVAC or insurance. You've seen that kind of thing out there. You're more broad-based, I would imagine.
In my case, I am, yes. And some of the companies I've talked to, they have like peer groups, right?
Okay.
So that's certainly and again, depending on the situation, that can be a great complement, to what we're doing. Or they might say, hey, we're good, but maybe down the road a challenge will come up or some other scenario will come, and when the timing's right. But yeah, I think in terms of the model of Action Coach, we have what's called our 6 steps to building a better business. Okay. And you can find it online, actioncoach.com, actioncoacherie.com is my webpage. But essentially what it is you mentioned the small to medium-sized business. Those that have gotten established, because typically in the startup phase, there's so much happening, right? That getting established, again, we mentioned earlier, Erie is tremendous resources for a lot of the groups in the startup. So there's a lot of free, low-cost resources in town. So tap into those by all means. When a company gets a little bit more established, maybe they've got a few employees, I've got 2 or 3 years experience, their revenues are 400, 500,000, maybe starting to grow and like that. That tends to be somebody that if they can come to us at the right time and just want to say, hey, I want to map this out the right way, I want to make sure that we're on the right path for growth, those seem to be ideal. But certainly, I've got somebody I talked to last week that been in business for 27 years. Business is going very well, but they've also plateaued just a little bit. Yeah. They still want to grow. And then the owner wants to start to look at succession plans and what kind of the future for him is going to be, whether he wants to ultimately become an absentee owner or essentially get to the point where he wants to sell the business or what have you. So those are just a couple quick examples where it really can cast a pretty wide net, try to meet them where they are, and then based on a couple of initial conversations, we try to dig deep and see, is there a way that I can help or recommend someone else that maybe potentially can help them better.
You mentioned succession plans, and I'm interested in seeing if you've noticed any differences between generations and the openness to coaching and so on, the being available for learning. I hope to be a lifelong learner. I have been, but I'm at the tail end, but you're a Gen Xer. Have you noticed differences between your peer group and millennials and maybe even Gen Zers, those types of leaders? I
think you're right, Joel. There is to some extent. At the same time, I'm always hesitant to cast too wide of a net there.
Right, and paint with one brush,
right?
I
think it comes down to the individual personality, again, their upbringing, maybe how they were raised. When you talk about sometimes in the family businesses, it tends to be a lot on how how the current owner, father, mother, grandparent, or whoever maybe started the company, how do they view that? And again, and I say that because I've had conversations on both sides of it, where they're very open and would like to encourage the next generation maybe to take on some coaching or to know that, hey, we have to kind of create some systems here so I feel better stepping away, because a lot of what we've been done maybe has been just me doing it. I'm in every day. It's in my head,
brain.
Right? Yeah, exactly. I've literally had that conversation that okay, we should probably start to get some of that on paper, right? To create some systems here.
That's awesome.
And again, it's the other way too. It's also had that next generation where some feel like, hey, I've inherited this great company from mom or dad or whatever. I don't want to be the one to take it in a bad direction. Yeah. So they may say, hey, like, how can we make sure that we keep doing some of the things that have been done, but also recognizing that times change and there's constant evolution, adaptations, all of that. So yeah, it can be a little bit of both.
When you're creating systems, are there some pointers that you generally give? I mean, is there a template out there, or is it all individual cases?
Well, it does vary by industry, right? If you imagine a service industry versus somebody who's taking inventory versus just a simple system of frontline person who's answering the phone and the customer flow that they take them through. It really kind of depends on the industry. But I guess the easiest pointer would be that with systems, take advantage of technology nowadays, right? Every phone that has the video and photo capabilities, believe it or not, some stuff like that, in just systematizing so that you're bringing the next person on to train. You've had to shoot that once. If it could be a case of just put your owner in front of a camera with mic or not, have them talk about a training piece or whatever, so that now with each new hire, they're not coming in having to just have the same conversation. They're saying, this is how we do it, and then document some of that in the process. But I think utilizing current technology to create, it doesn't always have to be overly complicated.
Have you been recommending AI a lot?
Well, sure. It's using it to the advantage of how it can work for you. We like to say that AI may not replace someone, but it might replace somebody who knows how to use it better. And particularly some of the easiest applications are with social media, right. Where you talk to people about their marketing and they get concerned about what kind of content should I be creating, what do I say if I want to be visible to my customers, and there's very easy tools through AI and ChatGPT that can actually plan content for you, can write content for you. So just some simple things like that. If you don't lose your authenticity in that, make it your own. But can you work more efficiently in some ways? Yes. And again, it comes down to probably the individual industry or business to know the exact application on how it can best benefit them.
We're wrapping things up with Matt Bresee. How do people get a hold of you? And what's kind of an initial first step that people would want to make a chat with you?
Well, actioncoacherie.com is the website, and really a discovery call is a great way to start. And usually that's a quick call. I like to let's get coffee. Let's get to know each other. Let's learn a little bit more about one another. So we invest a lot of time up front in just really the rapport, because a coaching relationship really needs to be a lot of trust. But like I said, we also want to know that they're bought in, because we're not doing the work for you. We're coaching you, we're guiding you, we're giving you systems, tools, different set of eyes, different perspective, all those things that a coach would bring. But ultimately, it's a great partnership. So it's fun when we find the right fit, and we have great relationships that way. So that's a great place to start. We invest a lot of time in a couple of conversations before we ever get into any recommendations or figuring out what programs or type of education that we offer that might be a good fit.
So are you out in because you've done a couple of public events? You have anything coming up that people might sign up for, or they might be showing up at your Rotary or whatever?
Yeah, I do. So if you check me out on social media, both Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. So Matt Bresee on LinkedIn, or Action Coach Erie on Facebook or Instagram. We have our first quarterly planning workshop coming up in June. So June 17th, we'll be up at Knowledge Park on the campus of Penn State Barron.
Nice.
And it's a one-day workshop that's planning for the third quarter. So if you've been thinking about what you're going to do for the third quarter, have never done quarterly planning,
right.
It's a great opportunity to come for the day. You'll be surrounded by other like-minded individuals, other business owners. We've got a special guest speaker, Chris Norris. Chris is a local digital content videographer extraordinaire. He'll be speaking to the group that day. But we're also going to invest a lot of time that day, both in some other business education that they'll get, but also really how to create a quarterly plan. And the basics of that are, don't overwhelm yourself, but really think about and prioritize what does success look like in the next quarter. So Action Coach Erie, like I said, Facebook, Instagram, or Matt Bresee on LinkedIn. And to get all the details for that, our first growth club that we like to call it, because it's essentially that. It's growth towards the next quarter, because quarterly growth will lead to annual growth, will lead to growing beyond.
Thank you, Matt. I appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you, Joel.
It is 4:57. Talk Erie.